Okay, so welcome to another edition of One Baht Wisdom. I'm Carl, this is Pat, and today we've got some questions to get through.
And I thought we would do a topic today that I've had written down since before the first episode, and I kept putting it off because I wanted to add more to it. So I think everyone will find that quite interesting.
Do you ever get bored pounding the pavements, Pat? Or think, not today?
No, I don't get bored of the exploring and walking up and down the streets in areas I don't know, because that's exciting for me. But I do have days when I'm not in the mood, definitely. Or I have days where, one day I might be trying to get 5 dialogues in the can on 5 different bits of history or information, because that's what I do. I'll go and film loads of the B-roll, then I'll do the dialogues a different day.
Yeah.
And some days I'm not in the mood to do dialogues. I'll try and film the first 2, I don't get the take, and then maybe I've had too much tea and my brain's going too quick. I think, I'm not in the mood today, I'll just film B-roll. So yeah, we all have off days. You have off days. What about when you're on a trip somewhere up a mountain and you...
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, sometimes, yeah. The thing I hate most about an off day is if you're doing a video with somebody, I think the mood you're in comes over.
Yeah.
And if you just, it could be something just you're a little bit hungover or whatever, or just, I hate it when there's just kind of a dead atmosphere and there's no conversation and there's no sort of vibe, you know what I mean? But no, generally speaking, like the kind of stuff I do, if I'm meeting somebody I know a few days in advance, so I sort of try my best to make sure I'm on form, And I've got a question here from Jeff Connor. And he asks, after you emigrated to Thailand, how quickly did the nightlife club scene begin to get old, boring, and overall tiring? Do you chalk it up to getting older as a person, or just it's getting old and so repetitive?
I worked in it. I was a DJ. So I saw behind the scenes and I know how it all works. So I wasn't doing it. I wasn't on the nightlife scene as a punter. I was working in it, so it was different. That got old after a while, yeah, because of the late nights and the partying. And now I don't go to pubs and clubs. I don't go out on the piss because I did it all in those days.
Yeah.
There's nothing new for me to find and
Sure,
discover.
I can understand that. Well, for me, I think I do still enjoy it, but as you get older, you reach a stage where I've been coming to Thailand for 38 years now, either living here or I've certainly spent time here every year since '87. I think also my situation is different when you live here and you're working here, that you just can't afford to do that every night. And a lot of people living in Pattaya, a lot of people you're meeting are just passing through. And of course, every night is a holiday. There's just no way you can keep up with them. And also you might have to get up the next morning to work, more times than not. That's true for me. So I wouldn't say I've got bored with it, but I would say, some of it's become predictable, but I can still enjoy it. I can still sort of just think, well, you're lucky, Carl, you live a place like this,
Carl, a few months ago, YouTube brought in this policy that they're not going to monetize every AI video or videos that are recycled, repetitive.
Yeah.
AI slop was the word I saw written down. And the ones with the voices, the fake voices. Yeah. I think you can safely say that's repetitive content, isn't it? Because people complain about YouTube's getting so repetitive. And particularly this year, there's been a spate of AI videos come out, hasn't there? I think people are starting to learn how to, feed all this information into some AI generator.
Oh, it is incredible, isn't it? But there is so much of it. I can see why YouTube have decided to make a stand against it, because it is, I'll just get sucked in like everybody with the title. They'll mention 2 very famous people and you click on it, then hang about, this is like this robotic voice and it's just talking in circles, so it's just gonna keep you hanging on for the, they're obviously just clocking up the time, and it's the viewing time, and it's cost them nothing to make. Yeah, as soon as I realise it's just AI generated, I'll click off. But you know, like as for the stories, well, you know, like stories are actually quite a good way that keeps people listening, and it is very cheap and easy to make.
I think the topics covered by these repetitive videos, you know, expat life, cost of living, visas, weed laws, scams, there's no tourists here, everyone's running off to Vietnam.
Yeah, that's it, I'm leaving.
Yeah, a narrative that Thais don't like foreigners and only want their money.
Yeah.
They're always exaggerated because, again, you know, people get sucked in by hearing about something negative.
I think their audience are the newbies, aren't they, really? And there's a never-ending supply. So, you know, the kind of people who are going to really come to view them as some kind of expert are the people who don't know any better.
Yeah.
You know, so that's their target. And the thing is, it's a big audience, isn't it? In fact, it's probably the biggest audience. There's, you know, there's other people who are sort of discovering it for the first time.
You got YouTubers telling stories, you got AI stories out there, same old narratives. She scammed me, I'm the victim, you know, I lost all my money. And it's a tired old topic, but it still gets the views.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing anything like that? Knowing it will get you a few views?
All the time. It crosses my mind all the time. I think, Carl, what are you doing? You know, you travel to the other end of the country and you hike through the jungle and you get attacked by God knows what. And then you come back and you try to edit this video from multiple different angles and try to make it look as nice as possible. You think, you do realise, Carl, you'd get more views if you just churned out exactly what you're talking about, you know. Yeah, I mean, it is overdone, but I think you answered it yourself when you said, but it still gets views.
Yeah.
It does, you know. And I think as long as people are clicking, people are going to kind of produce that kind of content. I'm sure that a lot of the time there is a foundation of truth in that, you know. I mean, the life is like that. It's buyer beware, isn't it? You know, like every relationship has got a power struggle in it. And if you're kind of like, if you act like a fool, the chances are somebody's going to take advantage of it, of that situation. So I don't doubt that a lot of those stories are true, but you're probably right in the sense that, yeah, they might not be as much of a victim as they think they are. You know, there probably have been signs that they should have spotted, you know.
But if these videos get so many views, why aren't there so many people heeding the warnings? Why is there always a queue of these guys waiting to put their brains in a box at the airport and then come into Thailand and then fall for it?
Not enough of them watch the videos. Because well, people are, you know, I can understand it. If you put yourself back, I mean, look, I've been coming out here for so long now, 38 years. It's very hard for me to think back about the way I used to think, you know, before I come out here. But so, you know, I've kind of learned what I've learned over the years. But if you come out here and you don't know somebody, yeah, you could be a lamb to the slaughter. You really could. But the problem is that if you just adopt that cynicism and think that's all there is to it and that's the truth, full stop, you could really lose out, because I know people who've been married for years and have had perfectly successful relationships.
Some of these stories are unfair on the Thai women. Imagine if you had Thai women doing videos about the guys from their side.
That'd be entertainment, wouldn't it?
Because a generous percentage of these guys who go into relationships like this, you know, they just met them in a bar and they fall for all that stuff. Yeah. They're not exactly the cream of the crop. The guys have also got to take the blame as well. Because I bet many of them are terrible to live with, have drinking problems.
For sure,
mental problems, possessiveness.
Not knowing anything about her culture, not bothering to learn anything about how she's been brought up, and totally. Yeah, you know, it's every relationship consists of two
you also
people.
Got wife beaters out there. I've heard stories from a couple of women who were married to foreigners, and these women met them in a nightlife scenario, and said these guys were controlling, treated them terribly, talked down to them, used the fact that they'd taken them out of the bar, helped out the family, used it against her. And these girls will leave these guys, and you know, it's just collateral damage that the guy will lose their house or money when they break up. You know, so then the guys will go off and say, "Oh yeah, she scammed me, she took all my money." But really, the real story is that these guys were the cause of it in the first place.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, one potential problem is when you get these kind of long distance relationships, perhaps the relationship doesn't have enough time to develop properly. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like there's we've got to marry her and then we've got to apply for the visa. So you've kind of got this process planned on a timescale, and, you know, whereas if that wasn't the situation, you could just treat it as a relationship. There'd be no pressure to get married.
Yeah.
You know, and the relationship would you'd get to know each other slowly. You know, the guy could go back and meet a family and learn a bit about where she comes from.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, I think, these stories.
Yeah, definitely two sides of it.
I think people want to hear the shit. They want to hear the tragic stories.
Well, yeah, it does. It gets
they
the
want to
clicks,
laugh
isn't it? She ripped him off. I lost this much, you know, like.
There is a couple of well-known channels who do these stories, and I think they both think they're like God's gift to Thai women. So if there's any Thai women out there thinking of starting a channel, I think it would be a breath of fresh air to spill the beans, expose these creeps who play the victim.
Right, there you go. Yeah, I agree with you. It would be a hit.
All right, Carl, interesting question here. This is directed to both of us. From Ray Miller. It says, are you able to make good, deep friendships as you would in your home country? And I think he means with Thais.
Right. Well, do you know what? I did see that question. I gave it some thought. And I think the honest truth is that, no, not really. Think what you like. I find it easier to get on with the women. I really do. No, I know. Yeah. I've left myself open over that one. But I've probably got one or two Thai guys that I rate as good friends, and I've got, you know, like there's lots of Thai ladies who work around who I know, and I would say, yeah, you know, they're friend on nodding terms, even if we don't go out together, you know. And I think, you know, probably. 1989, you know, I met a girl on my third trip out here. I met a girl and we went travelling together. We went up to Chiang Mai, went to Koh Samui, and right at the end of it, I ran out of money. And in those days, there were no international ATMs. You know, that was it. You know, you run out of money 3 days before the end of your holiday. That's it. So I just thought, right, well, that's it. I will just spend the last few days, you know, my feet up watching VHS tapes at the guest house, you know, watching Rambo movies. And the girl just sort of like, you know, I just told her the situation, you know, I couldn't really afford for us to go out anywhere. And she said nothing, you know, she just went home. And a couple of hours later, she turned out and she'd withdrawn her life's savings. It was £200 sterling. It was more than I needed.
Yeah.
You know, and she just gave it to me on the trust that I would bring it back. So I'm not saying there's no good sides to them, you know, not at all. You know, they really will. Fortunately, most Westerners are never in that position where they're in a position where they need that kind of help from Thais. But, you know, like, if you do play that game and go into that system, it can work both ways, you know.
Do you know what, I do get asked this quite a lot. You know, you've been here a long time. Have you made any deep or meaningful friendships here with Thai guys? Let's just start here by saying I think I've made a deep and meaningful friendship with this cat, and I've only been in Lumpini Park 5 minutes. I do get asked that a lot. You know, have I made deep and meaningful friendships with Thais? They're the Thai guys, that's what we're talking about here. And the answer is yes, I have. I made a lot of Thai friends back in London before I first came to Thailand, and I still talk to most of them now. But as for locals, I think you can. You know, you can make friends with anyone anywhere, I think. When people ask me that, I think they mean two different contexts. On one hand, they're asking that because they have this hang-up that their intelligence level and social status is too good to make friends with everyday Thai guys. And they'll say stuff like, oh yeah, I try to make friends, but they only want something from me, or they want me to pay the bill, they want to borrow money from me. I think that says a lot about the person trying to make friends, you know. What kind of circles are they mixing in if that's the only people you can meet? I think you can make friends with anyone, anywhere. If you're watching football somewhere, for example, and you get talking to the Thai guy next to you, and yeah, the conversation will be about football, but you might go on to have a few drinks and get talking about other stuff. You find common ground, exchange details, and a friendship develops, just like it does in the West. I hear a lot of guys moaning and saying, oh, we can't have deep and meaningful relationships with Thais because they don't talk about news, politics, or current affairs. If that's all you want to talk about, then they might find you boring. I remember the Thais I made friends with back in London before I'd ever come to Thailand. You know, I look back once I'd come to Thailand and met lots of different people, I realised they had a totally different outlook. 2 motorbike taxi guys outside my condo. I've been living in my condo 7 years, and I've got to know them quite well. And they are into politics, and they're always telling me about news and stuff and what they think about the latest political party or the Prime Minister. Their level of English is good enough for us to have a conversation. My Thai would be terrible. I don't know how to talk about political Thai at all. I think, you know, that's a bit of an open-ended answer. Carl, this is up your street, this question. Tom Rogers says, it'll be cool to hear your thoughts on the best spots to go to get a proper hike in, explore some nature, that aren't more than 1 hour or so from Bangkok by train or van, for those of us here without cars and motorcycles?
The nearest to Bangkok I'd consider like a decent hike. There's an area about 2 hours from Bangkok near a place called Gaang Waterfall. Now near to that there's like 3 really good hikes. There's one called Khao Hua Muak, which is like this standing stone on top of a mountain, like really quite like a really bizarre looking place. I've done a couple of videos from there on my channel. There's another hike that I went to the week before last. I haven't put the video yet. There was a waterfall called Saladai, and that's about an hour's hike from Gaang Waterfall up through forest and that. You could do them in one long day, or you could, there's plenty of camping places around there. You could stay there overnight and do all 3 at a leisurely pace over a weekend. So yeah, that would be my tip off.
There are places on the edges of Bangkok that I've even walked around in that I would consider a good hike. Prakanong Canal, that's 7 or 8 kilometres.
Right, yeah, I've never walked it.
From Sinakaring Road all the way to Sukhumvit.
Yeah.
I was down there last month on a walking tour, and they had originally asked if there were boats, and I wasn't quite sure. Google said there were, like on Google Maps comments said there were, and then some said there weren't. So we started walking it, and there was a guy who had a big boat, and they were transporting floor tiles.
Right.
And I waved at him and made a few gestures like, yeah, we want to go. And he stopped further up ahead, and we all got in. There was a couple and the son. So we ended up getting a boat along the Klong Prakanong, sitting amongst all this building stuff,
Brilliant,
tiles
that
and
would have
tools.
made a good vlog.
It did. I filmed some of it,
Excellent.
and we gave the guy 200 baht.
Yeah.
I asked him how much do you want, and I think they were just on their way somewhere. But it goes to show you can hitchhike.
Invariably, if I hitchhike, it's around a national park.
Ah.
You know, remember like we did?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like that. It's just sort of like your car's parked there and you've hiked at a trail and the trail ends here. I find it the easiest thing in the world. You know, like usually it's the first car that you speak to will give you a lift, you know.
I think you like this one, Carl. Jordan Clay says, after so many years immersed in the culture, are there times when you think in Thai?
Definitely. You know, yeah, definitely. If you're having a Thai conversation with a Thai, you are thinking in Thai. If you reach a decent enough level with a language, you do actually think in the language.
I'd get that if I'm thinking about, I'm going to be talking to a Thai person tomorrow about something important, like I'm meeting someone to talk about history or the filming. And I often think about which words I'm going to pronounce in their presence, because there's certain Thai names of places, and I think, damn, if they hear me say it like that, so I have to think of it in Thai over and over. He might mean when you're alone, sort of in the evening at home, do you find yourself, because you can speak Thai?
Do you know what? Somebody did once tell me that I speak Thai in my sleep, dream. Yeah, sleep talking. I've done sleep talking before.
Yeah, interesting. What did you say?
Oh, well, they wouldn't tell me. I don't know if it was just a wind up, but, you know.